Welcome to the Downtown Historic Parks Master Plan Digital Open House. On behalf of the City of Colorado Springs Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services Department, the many volunteers, citizens, and leaders that contributed their time and input over the past 8 months, and the skilled design workshop planners and designers that formed it, we're thrilled to celebrate with you the unveiling of the preferred alternative plans for the 3 downtown historic parks. I'll start by presenting a brief overview about the background information for this master plan project. If you have been keeping up with the parks planning project, you may want to advance to the last 12 minutes of the presentation. A slide with a red header entitled Preferred Plan Alternatives is where new information about the plan begins. 3 of the city's downtown parks, Acacia, Alamo, and Antlers, have all played an important role in our history. They are the places our community has come together to celebrate, to relax, and to enjoy one another's company. These are the exact things we're finding ourselves longing to be able to do again, once it's safe to do so. And when that day comes, we will return, united in celebration of who we are as a community and what we've overcome. The world has changed since we started this project, with COVID-19 requiring we present digitally rather than at a public meeting. However, in this time, we are experiencing a renewed appreciation from the community for the important purposes of city parks and the health benefits of taking a walk and spending time in a natural setting. More reasons this project is timely and important include the parks are 150 years old, and their locations were intentionally chosen to serve as hubs and connectors of the city. Colorado Springs has increased in population, and the downtown is anticipated to grow and redevelop. Visitation to Colorado Springs has also been on the rise, and we continue to put pressure on our urban parks to be many things to many people. Improvements are a long time coming for these parks. A disproportionately small amount of money has been spent on their improvements. We lag behind other cities in what our urban parks have to offer. The 2011 Park System Master Plan identified the downtown parks as a priority for improvements. These are Tabor Retention 2B funded projects. Without raising taxes, this past year, the voters approved in retaining $7 million worth of revenue, about $30 per household, above the Tabor cap received by the city in 2018, to be used to address capital needs in parks throughout our city, including Acacia, Alamo, Antlers, and 10 other parks and trails. These dollars will be a great start to beginning the improvements for these 3 parks. We look forward to your feedback and celebrating with you in these parks soon. Your input and support is how you make them shine. Now through July 31st, 2021, the Colorado Springs community will embark on a community-wide celebration of our city's rich history, celebrating the 150-year founding of Colorado Springs. Voters chose to fund improvements to these parks, including our Palmer Legacy Parks, as a way of helping to celebrate our city's important anniversary. A reminder of Palmer's purpose: the park shall be so maintained that the greatest benefit and enjoyment thereof may be obtained by all the people. The way people have enjoyed these downtown parks includes active and passive recreation, a place to be alone, and a place to be together. Today, some ways we enjoy the parks remain the same, and others are evolving since the city's founding. While interest in spending time in nature, appreciation of trees and mountain views thankfully has not changed, maintaining the quality of these conditions requires significant investment. Also, making the parks relevant for contemporary activities and interests, such as the addition of the temporary ice rink for the past 3 years in Acacia Park, helps to attract people to the parks and makes them feel vibrant and safe. In June of 2019, we started this planning and design effort with a process for creating an informed and thoughtful plan. Now, in April through June of 2020, we are in the last steps of finalizing the concepts for these parks designs. The goal is to be prepared for construction of a first phase in the spring of 2021. To date, the preferred plans have been informed by over 3,000 participants, who suggested and helped narrow down the types of programs and improvements the community envisions for the downtown historic parks. We appreciate that the past 2 surveys have reached people living in all parts of the city and beyond, with the highest percentage being downtown residents with 24% of the responses. In addition, the engagements that occurred in the parks encouraged high rates of participation from youth, people from throughout the city attending the popular What If Festival, and people using the parks as part of their typical day. The community survey results told a compelling story about changes desired for each of the three parks. For Alamo Square Park, 30% of respondents felt that Alamo Square needed no change. However, 35% felt Alamo Square Park should be changed with innovative activities and events, and 15% felt transformation of design is desirable. A much greater desire for transformation of design and introduction of activities and events was expressed for Acacia and Antlers parks. When asked what would make these three parks better, more than 70% felt that greater safety and security, cleanliness, and maintenance were the most important aspects. This is a common response for urban parks throughout North America. Studies from the National Parks and Recreation Association prove that increased activities in parks, from everyday programming to special events, help make urban parks feel safer and more welcoming. Additionally, design and operations improvements in this plan will direct to address these challenges. The survey responses and conversations with stakeholders inform the creation of design principles, which are to guide each plan's design. This includes activation, art, nature, and welcome. Connections to nature are especially important as design principles for the community. An example of this is the continued nurturing of trees in the parks. Many of the trees may soon be threatened by the emerald ash borer, so the preferred master plan calls for new park tree species to provide a more diverse and resilient urban forest. In early 2020, 6 master plan alternatives were presented at a public meeting and online survey. There were 2 plans for each park. On the left is Acacia Park, in the middle is Antlers Park, and on the right is Alamo Square Park. Over 700 members of the public weighed in and informed the creation of a preferred master plans, which we will now share with you.
We are thrilled to introduce this section on the preferred alternative plans for Acacia, Antlers, and Alamo Square parks. Keep in mind, we are sharing more of the park design implications in this presentation. Details on supportive operations, maintenance, partnerships, programming, and more will be provided later in the master plan document. As part of the 1871 town plat, Acacia Park has long been a center for community gatherings and connection with nature. This portion of the presentation will provide a synopsis on the park's existing conditions and the preferred alternative plan element. Here's Acacia Park's existing conditions and elements. The community supports transformation in this park. With only 11% of respondents extremely satisfied with Acacia Park, there is room for improvement. Challenges include constrained views. The community values shade trees, but some of the existing ash trees may be threatened by the emerald ash borer disease. The center of the park is not activated. The visitor center to the north of the park, number 1, is not an engaging amenity and lacks sufficient space for programming operations. The bandshell stage at the bottom of the park is well loved, but it doesn't accommodate performances very well due to exposure to the elements and electrical issues. It also creates a visual wall into the park for tenants along Bijou Street. Popular parts of the park include Story Coffee, ice skating, and Uncle Wilbur Fountain. Here is Acacia Park's preferred plan alternative that's been informed by engagement to date. The broad goals of this plan are to activate the park as the heart of downtown, create a space for use by all people, preserve historic elements of the park where possible, prioritize security, create capacity for community gatherings, events, and festivals, create opportunities for economic return to support the vitality and maintenance of the park, manage the existing and new trees for our future. The park is divided up into 3 broad sections: a western play section, a central event section, and an eastern garden grove. The next slides show character imagery or inspirational ideas that help depict the planned improvements. Actual improvements may have different levels of finish based on further design refinements and available budget. The inspirational images help show improvements that support the master plan design principles of art, history, activation, welcome, and nature. As the historic pictures show, Acacia has been enjoyed in winter and summer for many years. The temporary ice rink finds a permanent home in the center of the park. The new rink is proposed to be approximately 30% larger to accommodate the growing number of ice skaters each year. During the summer, the space can transform to host summer games and events as it has since the park's founding. The community has gathered at Acacia Park to enjoy each other's company and share a meal for decades. People have indicated Story Coffee is one of their favorite parts of Acacia Park. The plan recommends maintaining its current location until a core group of additional concessionaires are secured to activate the center of the park. Concession booths are proposed to have 360-degree architecture, with services on the ice rink side to provide food and beverage, and public art on the Garden Grove facing side. These amenities can help support increased programs and activities in the center of the park. Built in 1914, the existing bandshell hosted events like bands and square dancing. The master plan calls for a future feasibility study of the bandshell to determine whether renovation or replacement makes the most sense. Many citizens support a new open-air stage with improved lighting, sound, and open lines of sight as a new space to support events. A concept shown here with a new grass amphitheater and possible stone seating is one idea. And here we have a diagram to show how Acacia Park can be activated. The red arrows show how the design creates open views into the park from the corners and sides to help activate the center of park as well as the edges. The master plan improvements also help create infrastructure for community congregation during all seasons. It also includes additional lighting for safety in creative ways, for example in the Garden Grove benches. It also leverages the success of temporary ice rink activities by making this feature permanent and adding a flexible summer use. The plan also connects Uncle Wilbur Fountain to the rest of the park better by making the western edge a play zone with all-age interactive elements. The existing park has a number of trees that may soon be threatened by emerald ash borer or are in poor condition. The master plan preserves 60 trees, adds 77 new trees using a more diverse and resilient species palette. During outreach, the community expressed the importance of trees in the park. As a community, we must do a better job to manage our urban forests through multiple approaches to include species diversification and planning ahead now for aging or vulnerable trees to include in maintenance resources. Gifted to the city in 1882, Antlers Park has seen many transformations from its origins as the main entry to Colorado Springs, from the historic training depot to the Antlers Hotel. This portion of the presentation will provide a synopsis of the park's existing conditions and the preferred alternative plan elements. This slide shows Antlers Park existing conditions. Engagement results supported transformation and rehabilitation of this park. In fact, 37% of respondents indicated that they are extremely unsatisfied with Antlers Park, and nearly 20% are unsatisfied. Antlers Park is constrained on the edges to the south and east, especially the east side with a 4-story parking garage. The majority of trees in this park are ash trees that may be threatened due to the spread of emerald ash borer disease. The center of the park is not activated, and there are many concerns over safety in the park that only has 4 lights and is not active with a range of community users. As part of this plan, the team talked with surrounding tenants to understand what programs and improvements they could help support and partner in, and those are reflected in the preferred master plan. And here is the preferred alternative for Antlers Park. The broad goals of Antlers Park are to activate the park for greater safety and welcome, create more ways for people to connect to nature in this park, support programs that surrounding tenants can support and partner with, support programs like the dog park that encourage all-day use of the park and fill a gap in downtown park services. Create flexible spaces that can also have controlled use, that is fencing and set hours of operations for safety. Prioritize security by adding additional lighting and programs to have more eyes on the park. The next slide shows character imagery or inspirational ideas for Antlers Park. Actual improvements may have different levels of finished. Historic elements like the Pike Monument will be preserved in Antlers Park. A new garden walk promenade will connect the main ways of entering the park in the east and north along Sierra Madre and Pikes Peak streets. This area also preserves a shaded lawn and introduces a flexible event plaza that helps connect the park to the historic train depot. New elements include downtown's first planned dog park to meet the demand of the growing downtown residential population and neighboring dog-friendly hotels. A green screen wall is also proposed to help soften the park's hard eastern edge along the parking garage. An elevated walkway allows visitors to Antlers Park to get closer to the mature tree canopy. The walkway winds around, connecting with different park elements, and provides a playful experience for all ages. Also incorporated in this park design are several ways to play: a possible climbing wall opportunity, access into a city wild nature playground, an event space, and a dog park for four-legged friends. This Antlers Park activation diagram shows design objectives, including creating open views into the park from the new mid-block promenade, to activate the center of the park as well as the edges, to create areas, the dotted blue lines, of controlled access with improvements that encourage all-day use, the dog park and the play area, and to make the southeast entrance into the park more inviting. The existing park has a number of trees that may soon be threatened by emerald ash borer or are in poor condition. The master plan preserves 44 trees, including 3 historically significant trees, adds 66 new trees using a more diverse and resilient species palette. Gifted to the city in 1899, Alamo Square Park is where the historic Colorado Springs Pioneers Museum is sited, which is on the National Historic Registry. This portion of the presentation will provide a synopsis on the park's existing conditions and the preferred alternative plan elements. With 25% of people extremely satisfied with Alamo Park, the engagement results supported preservation of the park's elements with a desire for innovative activities. Some of the trees in this park are in poor condition. Also, the existing paving is in poor condition. For the events like the Food Truck Tuesdays and What If Festival, there is more electrical access that is needed to support those operations. Also, the team worked with museum staff to understand historic preservation requirements. The broad goals of Alamo Square Park Preferred Alternative are to restore the core, the paving and planting of the park, to add electrical enhancements to help support events, and a big move to expand the park into the Vermejo Festival Street to create a city porch, and also to expand the Southern Plaza to support civic events, and to improve the surrounding streetscape of the park and plantings. The next slides show character imagery or inspirational ideas. The inspirational images help show improvements that support the master plan design principles of art, history, activation, welcome, and nature. Historic elements in Alamo Square Park will be preserved. A much-needed restoration is proposed for the gazebo. In working with the Parks and Recreation and Cultural Services horticultural staff and volunteer groups, the planting beds are proposed to be revived and new shade trees planted throughout, with select ornamental trees flanking the plaza. The proposed improvement has very high support from the community. New elements include expanding the park south as part of the Vermejo Festival Street. The light image in the top left shows how that new city porch could look in the evening. The city porch is connected to improved food truck and event parking, and movable tables and chairs will also be provided. A Story of Us paving labyrinth is proposed in the expanded Civic Plaza to provide another use in between events. The stone timeline will help commemorate and celebrate our community's history and could be a signature element of the city's sesquicentennial celebration. The design objectives to activate Alamo Square Park, including supporting the existing circulation and to create a signature city porch promenade on the southern Vermejo Avenue Festival Street. Revive existing elements to improve conditions and make the park more accessible, and to support existing uses of special events and civic celebrations. The existing park has a number of trees that may be threatened by emerald ash borer or are in poor condition. The master plan preserves 80 trees, adds 100 new trees using a more diverse and resilient species palette, and by also expanding into the streetscape. This concludes the Preferred Master Plan presentation. Thank you for your time and support of our downtown parks. Please go to the website to explore the interactive plan maps and take a brief online survey to share your thoughts on the preferred plans. With your comments, the planning team will be presenting the final master plan to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for adoption this summer.